Hi everybody, welcome to Talking Teal Season 6, Episode 5. I'm Liron Cohen.
And I'm Mimi Torchin.
And we're Lady Parts TV. And we are thrilled to announce that thanks to some very, very generous people, we have a full Talking Teal season.
Yay! And by the way, I just want to tell you the fog is rolling in.
So this is where we have our doors closed.
Yes.
Hopefully you won't see the fog.
I don't know if any of you remember, but once we were sitting here doing
it was Bee's Spirit.
We were doing some sort of a vlog.
No, we were doing the finale vlog after Bee died and Bee's spirit came in.
Came through. The whole living room was filled with fog.
Hopefully that's not going to happen today. Sorry, Bee. So we have a full season of Talking Teal. That also means we're going to have a wrap party at the end of it, and it's going to be fun. And thank you to the people who gave this week to make it happen. Lauren, Nicola, Eva, Virginia, Denise, Lily, and Jen. Thank you so much to all of you who have given multiple times, many of you, and made it happen.
We really, really appreciate it. By
the way, personal perks are still available if you want to have your own 2-on-1 podcast or vlog.
Or 1-on-1 if you want me to go away or something.
Package deal. If you want to have your own podcast or vlog with us, just talk about, well, either Talking Teal or anything else.
Anything that tickles your fancy.
You can get it right here. And by the way, our shirts, we're wearing our Black Disobedience shirts today in honor and sympathy with our LGBTQ brothers and sisters in Israel. Who I think are doing the first ever, definitely in the history of Israel, but I think pretty much the history of the world.
Strike.
The LGBT strike, yeah, and big protests for equal rights. So we're with you, we're thinking about
stop
you.
The country cold.
Let's disobey.
Disobedience.
It's
an obsession.
Now, right before we're getting into the actual episode, I think we're all in agreement now. This week there's been much proof that the cancellation rumor is not actually a rumor. It's true.
The truth.
And I, again, urge you, time is of the essence. The clock is ticking on this. I urge you to go to our either our blog, there's a blog post there, or to go to our Facebook page. We are called Lady Parts TV Official on Facebook. My pinned post, for those of you who don't know what that is, that's it's the post that is always on top of the page. Has a worksheet there that has all the various networks and streaming services that could possibly pick Wentworth up and renew it, to tweet them, to email them. It's a worksheet that really guides you. It's on Facebook.
On Facebook.
It's our pinned post on Facebook. It's a worksheet that can help organize your efforts. And because, signing petitions is great, hashtagging Save Wentworth is great, but if it doesn't reach the people that need to know it, then it doesn't do us much good.
And one of the reasons time is of the essence is these are all very talented actors, and they can be snatched away and signed to other contracts. And that's happened before on shows that people were interested in picking up, but the actors, many of the primary actors were signed up to other projects.
Yeah, that's our assumption. That nothing that is actually verified, but
not with this, but with
but it's actually
other series.
It has happened before, so time is of the essence. Let's do this. All right, now let's talk about Bitter Pill, which was written by, again, one of the best dialogue writers, John Ridley.
Sensational.
And some really, really great lines in this. I think some lines that will go down in Wentworth history. And a newcomer to the director's chair, Roger Hodgman. I hope I'm saying it right, who did a great job.
Wonderful job. Really wonderful job.
And we'll see him again in the next episode.
And again, Kathy Chambers' camera work is just spectacularly good always.
But this time I also want to give special kudos to the editing, which is always great, but in some episodes it's just more like wow than others. And the music. I love their use of music.
It's a package.
It's always at the top of the craft.
Fantastic package.
Now, I think the first person that we have to talk about is Vera.
Vera, darling Vera.
And can we first just say Kate Atkinson is so, so good.
She is a wonderful actress. She has an amazing presence. I just love Vera. I want to wrap her up in my arms and take care of her. She's so tiny and but she's so powerful. You can feel power inside of her, even power she doesn't know she has.
That's That's a good way to put it. I just felt that also in this episode she went through really a range of emotions, highs and lows and ups and downs, and just
So
very,
vulnerable.
very candid, more than we've seen her in a while, and in many different interactions with different people. She interacted with so many people this episode. But I love what Rachel said about Vera's journey in this episode.
Rachel says that Vera has always taken responsibility seriously, and I love the duality that was presented to us. The press is questioning her competency as a governor, and she is questioning her possible competency as a mother. She's much more comfortable with resolving her issues with the press than her personal issues. But that makes perfect sense. Most of Vera's life revolves around her career, and she has support from others when it comes to handling the press. But in her contemplations about the pregnancy, she's alone.
Yeah, she's
not completely alone. She does have Bridget's counsel.
Well,
I mean,
not anymore.
No, but she could. I mean,
she
they
could.
didn't go to Tasmania.
Hold off on that, because there's actually something very funny somebody said about that. But first of all, I just want to. It was hilarious to me how all of a sudden Jake is this saint of Wentworth.
Oh my God!
Talk about angel of Wentworth.
He's like a Boy Scout.
Yeah, he goes around,
on his across the street, little old lady.
And when he's not picking off other people's shifts and saves people from death, he also gets to be seen walking elderly women across the street.
That's what I just said.
It's hilarious, and if it wasn't enough in your face, then Liz just comes out and says, "Jake, you're a good man." So just in order to clear up any, if you missed it somehow, Jake, you're a good man. No, he is not a good man. And the fact that all of a sudden in this episode he seems to be helping, every woman who is barely walking, and I don't know how all of a sudden he's this good man.
And he's everywhere.
He's everywhere, and he's in everybody's business. But that also means that he fucks Barbie nurse again.
Yes. Well, he had Vera, contemplating maybe keeping that baby and having him involved. Until.
Yeah, and as Sarah said, we didn't really need to see him fucking Barbie nurse again, but Vera needed to see it. Because she needed to snap out of that illusion that was already kind of taking over her, that maybe they can make a family, maybe he could be a good father, and no. And I'm really happy about that.
Although that image... Anyway.
Well, it was very sad. But I'm happy that...
and Barbie nurse.
I was very happy that they didn't let Vera go down that path again. Because I was tired of that path.
Yeah, I mean, once your eyes are opened, it's pretty hard to then drop the veil again.
I also think that it was extremely poignant that... we would have hoped Vera would still have Bridget, but instead she has Mari. And she has this whole conversation with her about motherhood, but it's actually the conversation that she just needed, but it's in herself, in her brain, still alone, because Mary doesn't know what conversation that, is taking
Mari
place.
was doing it anyway to further her own agenda of getting a SIM card.
Right. Now, as for Vera needing Bridget, and many of you echoed this, but Alicia put it very funny. Have to say, a lot of fans were surprised that Vera did not turn to Bridget in her time of need, as she has always done. Although the Frankie and Bridget storyline is finished, a lot of people still thought she would be there for Vera, as she has nobody apart from Bridget that she can turn to. I think maybe Bridget is too busy feeding her cat. Can you blame her? I mean, her cat has been frustrated for a very long time. So I wouldn't blame her. And I know that you all want to see the spinoff because you want to see her feeding her cat.
However, if Vera would have picked up the phone and called Bridget, Bridget would have been there.
Theoretically, you mean?
Well, yes, of course, theoretically.
Yeah, off screen. Yeah. I think to me it was very...
Because they have had the discussion.
Who?
Vera
before, yes, they did. But to me, that conversation that she had with Mari was very, very sad, because you see how much she takes from it, but nobody knows that she's taking. It's all still alone inside herself. The other thing is that it's very sad to hear how much she doesn't think she's going to be a good mother. She tells Jake that she has been questioning every single decision she makes, and she just makes me sad. She makes me really sad.
She's a poignant character.
Rachel has something.
Yeah, she does. She says that over the years, Vera has surprised herself with what she's capable of, and surprised us, capable of doing. She killed her mother. She dropped Lucy down a stairwell. She tried to stop, but it still happened. I don't think she exactly dropped. I can't imagine.
She pushed.
Yeah, but it's a funny image thinking
drop
of tiny little Vera picking up Lucy and dropping her down the stairwell. Fun choice of words. She let B go out and confront the freak and then covered up her involvement. Vera always struggles to do the right thing, and we love her for that. Over the years, we have seen her crushed over and over again, but she has always managed to drag herself back to her feet and keep trying. That's why Vera is such an integral character. She is in a position of power, but she believes herself to be weak. Oh, that's just what I said, right? Nothing could be further from the truth. She is vulnerable, but she is not weak, and we adore her for her resilience.
And especially when in that scene with Will that she had, what I loved is that on one hand you see a very gentle side of her that we haven't seen in a long time because she's been trying to keep appearances of this strict person, and then she really was. I mean, he was already crying. She was really sweet to him, and we really needed to be reminded that she does still have an ally there. But then Jake opens the door and she's like, "Get the fuck out of here!" You know, I mean, so you see her rage along with that softness, and again, she had to really cross a gamut of
emotions. It's a fine line for her to maintain, because her instinct is to be kind and good and soft. But by necessity, she has to be strong and sometimes mean and sometimes very self-protective in a way that normally she would never think of doing.
Absolutely. Another very interesting interaction that she had, I found, this episode was with Sonia. First of all, because she comes in and when they discuss, you know, the PR and the fact that she decided to bring the press in, then we see the more savvy kind of professional side of her. But also I found it interesting that she talked to Sonia kind of as a peer. Again, she found little, not friendships, but little allies in the most unlikely of people. Sonia, Mari, you know.
Well, both Sonia...
wherever she can find them, she mines what she can get to strengthen herself.
But Sonia sort of demands that kind of treatment. Sonia doesn't allow herself to be relegated to a meek prisoner.
But remember, she tried to put her in her place. You're just a prisoner, nothing else, you know.
Right.
And she tried to assert herself. But in this episode, she was kind of discussing professional work as somebody who respects the fact that she understands.
She is a businesswoman and she does know these things.
I thought it was really interesting to see them kind of talk on a peer level. Even if then, of course, Sonia, when the press is there, Sonia stands in front of Vera for the photo.
Just like Trump and the Queen.
Oh my God. So there were many different sides to Vera that we saw in this episode, and I think it was a beautiful Vera episode, of course, with the very sad, though good ending.
I don't know how good it was. I think that I think Vera could use something and somebody to love without any boundaries, unquestioningly, and without judgment.
I was surprised, honestly, that they wrapped the story up so quickly. And then,
well, they didn't have that much time. You can't, you know.
Well, she could have had an actual abortion. She could have had a DNC. Now,
Yes.
The pill is, yes, you can take it only up to very early stages, but she had more choices going forward. But Denise says that she was disappointed that it was wrapped up so quickly, that she thought that it was kind of sacrificed because they have so many storylines going on, that she would have liked to explore it more. I think it was fully explored.
Yes, I think it was.
I just was surprised that it happened at such an early episode. But is it actually the end? Most of you don't seem convinced that it's the end of Vera's pregnancy story. Yes. So
she seemed definitively to have taken those pills.
Well, there is more to it. So now, Lauren said, I love you guys. I truly, really love you guys. You make me LOL when I read your emails sometimes.
I hear her LOL in the office across from my bedroom where I'm watching television.
Lauren actually looked up the drug and said that in 7 out of 100 cases, it doesn't do the work, and the abortion isn't complete. She also raises the question of, what if she has a bad reaction to it? They told her not to be alone. I mean, women are said not to be alone when they take it. What if she's alone and something bad happens? She starts bleeding or has some sort of a reaction. So that could go also in one direction. And several of you asked, I didn't even realize it, but apparently this is just the first of 2 pills that a woman has to take. We saw her take the first pill. What if she didn't take the second pill? So I actually researched it. You know how much I love it when you guys make me do medical research and legal research and things like that.
She's actually practiced surgeries on me.
So here's the deal with how that pill works. So the first pill could cause nausea or some bleeding, but that actually is not what usually happens. And usually doctors will give the woman also antibiotic to prevent infection. And then within 6 to 48 hours after taking the first pill, you have to take the second pill, which actually causes the uterus to empty out all the blood, the fetus tissue. So that is when when women experience very heavy bleeding and cramping, and that's when all the bad side effects happen. Now, if she doesn't take the second pill, there are 3 options of where it can go, and it pretty much covers up your entire, all 3 storylines where it could be. One is that you can still have a complete abortion without taking the second pill. It actually is possible. The second option is that unfortunately it's called a missed abortion, so the fetus is dead, but it's not evacuated from the uterus, and then you have to go and actually have a procedure done. And then the third is that it actually could, the pregnancy could go on, and then in that case, the first pill will not have hurt the pregnancy or the fetus, and it could develop into a full-term pregnancy. So it pretty much covers up all your options. So
anything could happen.
But I didn't even realize there was a second pill she needed to take.
That's good
and
to know.
that the fact that we see her take the pill doesn't mean that it's
over.
over.
I knew that there was supposed to be a follow-up pill. I just thought they just didn't bother showing it to us.
Well, and it makes sense that they wouldn't. I mean,
But 6 hours later.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have to do that in order. I mean, they made their point. She was taking the pill.
That's
she had decided to have the abortion. But you're right. At Wentworth, anything's possible. There's a squirrel.
Oh, I know. I was just going to tell you, in case you see me going like this or like this, there are birds darting and landing everywhere in our yard. And I have a little ADD here, and when I see these sweet little things...
you see the squirrel, you think about Vera.
Oh, I just
you see the bird, you think about what?
Scurrying behind the fence at the bottom. In New York, we would have thought it was a rat and started screaming. Here we know it's not.
So, the second big plot of this episode, undoubtedly, was the triangle of Mari, Ali, and Kaz. You all pointed out to this triangle possibly being the center of the entire season, and possibly where very big things could happen. Now, what's interesting is that many of you have said how much more interesting is the Mari and Kaz dynamic even to Ali and Mary's dynamic.
Well, because Ali doesn't have any power. Kaz and Mari do.
Well, Ali, we're hoping will have more power than we're giving her credit.
But Ali has proven to be easily manipulated, and Ali wants love.
Well, there are many arguments that can be said here, but let's start with Mary and Kaz. First of all, I think we see how really, really good Mary is at manipulating people. I was sitting there listening to her say things like, besides my son, you're the only woman that I let my heart know. And oh my God, she's so
convincing.
Yes, and that's the thing. I was hoping...
She's so sincere.
When we were watching the first episode of Mary in Wentworth, I thought, well, she could be all sorts of things. She could go, and then when I heard her sweet talk like that, such a smooth operator, I'm like, uh-oh.
And then
no.
Then we saw the other side of her, and we realized the scales were lifted off our eyes forever. We know that she's not a good character.
No, though I still am hoping that she's a lot more layered than just not a good character. I'm still hoping that she does have other sides to her and other facets to her.
Yes, otherwise she's Joan Ferguson without being quite the psychopath.
Yeah, exactly. That's always our biggest worry when it comes to these people and characters. But she is making Ali re-examine her life and take ownership for her own choices and decisions, which I think is a good thing.
Yes.
Now about her relationship with Kaz, Mary and Kaz, several of you had very interesting things to say. So first of all, Camille says, is Kaz really the protector and loves Allie? Remember how she showed her love when it came to be? How she threw her under the bus and said Allie was in on it? Can Kaz really be trusted, or will Allie remember how she stabbed her in the back? If the directors go there and make Allie think that Kaz lies when it comes to others, this could be explosive. I think it's interesting that she is so good, Mary, or perhaps she's so right, that she didn't just make Allie rethink her relationship with Kaz, she made us rethink her relationship with Kaz.
Absolutely.
Because she has a
good
point.
It's such good writing and acting. It really, really is.
Melody, a first-time writer, so let me know if you prefer Mel, says,
Mary and Kaz are polar opposites to each other. Kaz is the champion of women, all for empowerment, protecting women against violent men, while Mary is all for using women for her own personal and financial gain, regardless of their well-being. I think their only common interest is Allie. The ironic thing is, Mary is totally right about Kaz. She is very controlling and has this inability to let women think for themselves sometimes. This is especially true when it comes to Allie. Season 4 has some really good examples of this. B even called her out on it early on. When the prison introduced women's health classes, which were not mandatory, and Kaz announced no one was going to attend them and they couldn't force them to, it had been B that reminded her that the women could make up their own minds. There is a difference in trying to empower women to make good choices and just telling them what to do. Kaz means well, unlike Mary.
so at least that. But it's true. Kaz
It's true.
is, yeah.
My way or the highway.
Yeah. She points out that because of Kaz, she's in prison. She brought out some interesting things for Allie to think about and for us to think about. We've been seeing things through, we thought was Allie's point of view, but actually it's Kaz's point of view.
Clouded by Kaz's point of view. And the thing about Kaz, I hope I can remember this. I was going to say it a second ago. And now, is Kaz is used to being the contrarian, the activist, fighting against the system. So it seems to me that her first instinct is, here are these classes. We are against these classes.
Well,
Nobody go.
There was a point at the time. I don't remember.
Yes, I know.
It doesn't matter. The point was
I know,
that she
but
was
that
the one
is sort of her instinct. Her instinct is at every opportunity to fight against the machine, to rebel against the man. So that's one of her flaws, is that while it's well-intentioned, it's sort of an ingrained quality of hers.
Now, Rachel says, Mary has the ability to seduce, and that is powerful. Seduction isn't always sexual. She courts Boomer with sweets. She uses money to control Rita, or so she thinks. And she uses the young inmate Taylor not only to smuggle in her drugs, but also to spark jealousy within Allie. And that's another thing that was very interesting to me, because when she got Taylor to get the drugs in for her, she didn't just pay her. She didn't just give her money. She caressed her. She
gave her affection. And
no, when she wanted Ruby to do it, she didn't do that, because whatever the person she feels is vulnerable to or needs, that's what
she's
offers.
pretty good at sussing out what the other person needs and gives it to
Much
them.
like what Allie said to Ruby, that she's like, she can read your mind and see where your weak spots are and get there. Now, Joanna has a theory about Kaz and Mary. She says, my theory is that Mary lied to Kaz about being abused by a boyfriend to get her to beat up or kill a man. Given the Rita storyline, maybe this man was an undercover cop and Mary knew this. Then after it was all said and done, Kaz found out and now blames Mary. It could have then been the reason Kaz always said the Red Right Hand weren't killers, and would mean she understands what Will is going through so much, so she could help him more. I just think it would add a whole new element to Kaz's character, and maybe people would start liking her more. I guess people don't like her. I don't know.
I kind of like her.
I love her.
That's a very complex.
And she's also saying that maybe the USB that Mary hid has evidence on it.
Well, I think it probably does. To me, what the USB probably is the modern equivalent of the little black book that madams always have. I think that's a very interesting theory. I mean, from sort of from thin air. You should perhaps be a writer.
I think Sorry, go ahead.
That's all. It's just it's sort of invented from almost whole
Well,
cloth.
well, this specific theory is, yes, is very specific, but I think it's actually, it would be really interesting to find out if Kaz and Mary, if Kaz rescued Allie from Mary, not just because she rescued her from Mary, but because they did have something more than that that made her hate Mary so much, that made her even, how did she even find Allie? How did she even know that? I mean, you know, how did, maybe she knew Mary from before then. Maybe there's a bigger story
Well,
there.
as a protector of women, she might.
Well,
she
I would
might
find
have.
it interesting if there was a personal story between them.
Well, I'd like to know. I think that there will be something because that's a very interesting point. How did she find Allie?
Uh-huh. Unless she just found her on the streets, I guess. But it would be more interesting to have an actual story behind it, don't you think?
I do.
I mean, that's not to say that there is, but
well, and it's not to say that whatever they're doing with it is not interesting already.
No.
But
yeah,
yes.
but just a different, another dimension.
There's
because
many things that could be in everybody's past that we don't know about.
Well, because also
especially Mary.
I think that since
Kaz
has arrived in Wentworth, in the beginning we saw a little bit of Kaz's backstory, but that's it. We haven't learned anything new about Kaz.
The pony.
Yeah, we haven't learned anything new about Kaz for a long time now. So I would relish the opportunity to expand on her story and on her character as well.
That's the great thing about this show and about these characters is that we want as much of them in their lives as we can possibly squeeze out of a character.
Well, and also because they are in Wentworth, then there's a whole different life to them that we don't know anything about, and we're being doled out a little bit, every little, you know, and also who they are in Wentworth might be different from who they were out there. So there's so much to learn.
As inferior as Orange is the New Black is, and I haven't even watched it in the last couple of seasons, one of the things they did well in the early seasons was going into the past and showing you the backstories of the women in prison, which is a very good way to get out of prison once in a while.
So the two women are definitely, as Sarah said, vying for Allie's love and loyalty. Dee said that she thinks Kaz should back off, otherwise she'll push Allie more towards Mary. We already see again Allie re-examining things, just sitting there at the table and just thinking.
Allie.
How often do you see that? Just the character sitting and thinking, which is pretty cool. Now, about Mary. First of all, she did not wipe the phone before using it.
She didn't wipe it.
No.
Oh, she didn't wipe it. Wow. I wish you hadn't brought that up. Anyway, we're talking about the phone up Lucy's cooch. Not a very pleasant thought. Hello?
She didn't seem to even like, what's this weird smell?
Oh,
anyway,
stop. Don't go there.
But about Mary, we now know that she traffics in women. And
that's really,
so
really
she kind of lost me there. This is something I can't forgive. It's one thing to think that you're empowering women, but giving them their own choice of what to do with their body, and another thing to traffic women.
Completely another thing.
So that already shows that she is very, very bad. But she is a very smooth operator, and we see that with all of her interactions throughout the episode. Melody, or Mel, sorry, says, there is something very alluring about Mary that is hard to ignore. She uses anything she can think of for her advantage, even the death of her son when she requested his things in order to smuggle in a clean SIM card. It is also very hard to deny the on-screen chemistry Kay Jenkinson and Susie Porter have. The scene where they sing Happy Birthday, Mr. President was not only heartwarming but also insightful. Mary comments on her being self-conscious here, which during season 4 she was quite the opposite. We get a glimpse into a side of Allie that we didn't know existed right here. I sincerely believe Mary's feelings for Allie are genuine. However, her feelings are also piggybacking on nostalgia of the past in regard to her son. Just like with the death of her son, though, Mary won't hesitate to use Allie for her own advantage either. I do want to, about the triangle, Mary, Kaz, and Allie, I do want to say what Rachel said, which is, Allie stands up to Kaz and corrects her about why Mary is locked up. This signals a shift in her loyalties. While Kaz and Allie appear to have a good relationship, I think the damage Kaz caused when she set B up for the freak might have left a rift that Mary will capitalize on. So a few of you go back to that, which I, of course, forgot. Okay, now Sarah has a very interesting thing to say.
Yes, so Sarah says that Mari is the perfect example of a criminal. All her talk about her son and his dad are all probably true, and yet she'll rip open the teddy bear the minute she's alone to get the SIM card. The real reason she wanted those things brought in. She plays the exact same cards with Allie in the yard. This is how she manipulates people. Just enough truth of feeling and intent to connect with the person to get them to do or think what she wants. But underneath, she's only out for herself.
It's so true, because that's why, like last week when you were talking about comparing her to Sonia, and you said, well, you feel a lot more genuine emotion from her. So I don't know if it's an act or if it's genuine emotion.
Whatever it is, it feels genuine.
Yes, and she knows just what the person needs at the time, so that she can.
And I think that as bad as she may be, she does have genuine feelings somewhere underneath there. Something about Sonia, and I think it's that she's a sociopath, makes you unable to ever feel anything really emanating from her of any genuine feeling.
I also find, whoever Mary's with, though she knows, even though she didn't know Vera was pregnant, I don't know, something in her, I mean, yes, maybe it's the writers and it was done more for the benefit of Vera's character, but she does have like the sixth sense that she knows what the person needs and she can give it to them.
Exactly.
And that's how she gets Vera to approve.
She's sort of an empath in a way.
Without really being empathetic.
Well, I think that she is empathetic, but I think she uses that empathy for her own purposes. I think you can have empathy and be
and not care about how people feel.
Sort of a bad
interesting
empath.
Comment. It's interesting.
Well, you know.
Well, we know that a lot of psychopaths actually are very good at reading people.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And that's why I say she's sort of an empath. Yeah. She can sort of feel what the other person needs.
Now, about Allie. So first of all, Diana points out that Ruby, whom we saw very little of in this episode, but she does serve a purpose in her relationship with Allie, which is she doesn't let her bullshit herself. You know, that whole thing about the voodoo with JJ. She does make her, don't feel sorry for yourself for a second. Nobody forced you to do anything, and then that's what causes Allie to take more responsibility for her actions. So that is good. In that respect, if they keep them together, she could be a good friend to her and keep her from bullshitting herself. Apparently on social media, we don't really go there and look for things. So apparently, though, from your perspective, social media, people on social media have kind of been upset with Allie. I'm not sure if that's because they don't want her to go back to drugs, or if they still feel that she needs to be loyal to B and not, get involved with anybody else, or if it's specifically Mari that they don't want to. I'm not sure. I think Allie deserves to go on with her life, and this plot, even if it makes us nervous about where it could go, I think it's an interesting plot, and finally she gets stuff to do.
Yeah, and finally she gets something to do, Kate.
Now, in terms of B, by the way, Dee said, again, your observations are amazing. Dee said that when, in last episode, when they have that common flashback, Mary thinking back at them together in bed, and then Allie, that Allie is covered in B's blanket. The red cover.
People, you're amazing.
And Dee says that she kind of missed having like a little B flashback or B something to get Allie to snap out of it, or to have her inner voice of what B would have said. Or interesting idea. I don't know if a flashback would have been possible because of contracts, royalties, whatever. But some B reference could have been in place.
Well, maybe that was it.
That was from last episode.
But I mean, maybe the blanket was it.
Well, it was for sure last episode, yes.
But you really had to know and remember.
Easter eggs. Denise read. Okay, so this is an interesting thing. I do know Allie is going to get a love interest, and spoiler alert, we have not seen her yet. The reason I know this is because I had seen an article last year.
Who says this?
Denise. After they announced the new cast on Wentworth, and one of the girls was labeled as Allie's new love interest. I won't spoil it and tell you who it is, but like I said, she's not here yet. She hasn't been on the show yet.
Interesting.
The plot thickens. Okay.
Just so long as it doesn't sicken.
Yeah. So in the end, we see that Allie does find out about Taylor, about the drugs. now we'll see if she's still that easily, drawn to Mary again, or if she's woken up to the fact that she still does the same things.
I just have to say, how Wentworth is so very much like a soap opera, besides the fact that it's a serial, is this bouncing back and forth between emotions.
Yeah.
Oh, I love you, everything is fine until I see this. Oh, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. Oh, and then I see this. And that's sort of a soap opera trope to keep things going on and on and on, which is this this emotional ping pong game that are played with characters from seeing something, from overhearing something.
It's kind of like what Vera went through this episode too with Jake,
or through the entire series.
Yeah.
That happens all the time, and it's something that I just really realize is it's a very, very ingrained soap opera trope.
Again, Mary's seduction is very, very good, and she's harnessed her skills very well, and she has there are a lot of latent feelings and emotions there, and then something happens and it kind of wakes you up to the fact that nothing really has changed.
And it's
Snap
usually
out of it.
Eavesdropping or seeing it, and that
or
any of you who are an As the World Turns fan was a great, or not the greatest, Doug Marland, one of the great writers. In soaps, he always had people finding out. There were always people listening.
Well, that's
around
what we didn't
corners,
like about Joan.
Listening around corners, they always
I don't like that
just
approach.
happened to be there.
So another thing that we learned about Mary, though, when she meets Zara in the visitors' room, the first thing she wants to know is, what did you find out about the man who killed my son? So it wasn't an accident. We now know that somebody killed him, and that should be the top priority, I think, for Mary, to know who killed her son and to get payback.
It's what seems to happen in this world of criminals, is your children are never safe.
Well, of course, because that's the worst thing. Yeah, it's the worst thing you can do to a person. So now she knows that there's a rat. The shipment of the women was busted because of Rita's
Right.
Yeah,
well, I don't think of Rita as a rat, but they would.
No, but they think of it as a rat. They, and Zara Dragovich. She's now in the prison, which, first of all, Dee's asking, does that mean that there will be more charges added to Mary's if they can prove the connection, that it was her shipment? Also, Lauren says about Zara that she looks really scary, and she looks like the kind of person who would cut your throat in the night. I think that's a very good description. The preview makes her look really like the scariest person we've ever had on Wentworth.
Well, almost.
The preview, at least. And also an interesting thing is when she's in the visitor's room with Mary, she kind of tries to hold her hand. Will she be jealous seeing Mary and Allie together, and will that put Allie in her target as well? Because we already know from the preview that Rita is very much in her crosshairs. So a lot of really interesting things happening there. Speaking of Rita, you remember how a couple of weeks ago, after Frankie left, I said, I don't know if somebody, if there will be somebody who can be as charismatic, who can fill the void. Boy, was I wrong.
Boy, were you wrong.
I love Rita.
We are in love with Rita. Leah Purcell is so magnificent. And this character is so multi-layered. As I said, every flashback shows a different side of her. I really want to know her backstory, because it must be very deep and very wide and fascinating.
Well, and even just her current story.
What we know about
even just her current story, not even her backstory. I mean, her backstory is very rich for sure, but even her current story, there are so many things we don't know.
And what's so interesting is because she's so charismatic and we trust her, if she were a villain, she would be one of those villains that could do anything and couldn't be stopped.
But thank goodness
she can do anything that's asked of her that she needs to do, except that we'd like to see it happen.
And she's a good person, and she does things for the right reason.
Well, yes, even if it's for the wrong person, it's for the right reason.
Right. But the thing is, we love her. We think she can fill the void, but she's also an undercover cop. So what does that mean about how long will she actually stay in the prison? So our going assumption, at least mine, was that at some point while in prison, she'll end up probably doing something, probably covering up for Ruby, that will actually land her in prison for real, for an actual crime. Though I would think And you all law people tell me, isn't there some sort of a leniency
Yeah,
for undercover cops who commit
exactly.
crimes while undercover?
Some sort of immunity.
Yeah, because I mean, it's hard to not commit crimes when you're trying to
If
pretend you're a criminal
right,
with
and if
criminals.
somebody attacks you or
Right. Sarah says, if Rita plays her cards as well as she has been, I suspect she'll hold her cover for most of the season. Question is, will she end up doing something that will actually get her into trouble for real and get sentenced? Or, like the character Frances Myers on Bad Girls, will she complete her undercover job successfully and be given the governorship for a job well done?
ta-da!
Not that any sane person would consider being governor at Wentworth a reward. I don't know if if they will go for the Bad Girls plot, but we definitely have seen Leah post pictures from the set of Wentworth season 7, so she's still there. It
Still
seems,
there.
which is wonderful. And I just want to say, her scene kicking ass and beating up those 4 girls.
That was fun.
Oh my God, one of my favorite scenes in Wentworth history. By the way, that was all Leah Purcell. There were no stunt people there at all. She actually posted a picture from season 7 of her icing with an ice pack and things. She obviously, listen, we know she's a boxer, we know she's a cool chick, so she does her own stunts. I loved that scene, and many of you, and I said that when we were watching it too, many of you kind of, it made us go back. It reminded us of the Freak's Hulk scene in the yard.
Oh my God! Except that we hated seeing the Freak do it. We loved seeing Rita do it.
Yes, and also with the Freak, it looked ludicrous,
ridiculous.
Whereas here, it looked believable.
And she's trained. Well, of course, the Freak. Well, she was a fencer. She wasn't a boxer.
Yeah, but the Freak just here's how it looked like when she did it.
Yeah, exactly. Like she was flicking flies off a piece of watermelon.
Now, Rachel says, while the Freak unleashed the animal within and snapped bones, Rita shows skill and control along with her power. She defends herself but causes no serious damage. That's why cops train the way they do. That skill has to be developed, and Rita seems to have mastered it. I have a feeling it's not the last time we're going to see a display like this from Rita, but I think she may lose control the next time.
I think American cops have forgotten that training.
Yeah, no, well, they have guns. So it was a fantastic scene. I think we all got really excited, and it makes me want to see more and more of Rita.
Mm-hmm.
That scene, also, what I loved about it, I call that scene the Welcome to Country scene. And what I love about Rita also is that with these very little tiny pieces of sentences here and there, she educates us a lot.
About the indigenous people.
Yes, and thank you, Diana, for actually catching up on these things and sending us all the information so that we actually understand.
Yes, we wouldn't even know them to look them up.
Yeah, we wouldn't know that Welcome to Country was something, right? So since, much like we didn't know, maybe many of you don't know, I think this is a good opportunity to actually explain what it is.
Right, Diana explains that Welcome to Country ceremonies have been used when greeting visitors to tribal areas in Australia for thousands of years. The ceremonies only started being used to greet non-Indigenous people some 40 years ago. The following quote is from Richard Wally, who performed that first Welcome to Country to some visiting Maori dancers. I ask the good spirits of my ancestors and the good spirits of the ancestors of the land to watch over us and keep our guests safe while they are in our country. And then I talk to the spirits of their ancestors, saying that we're looking after them here and we will send them back to their country.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I love indigenous people's ideas of the lands and the spirits. The Native Americans have very much the same way of looking at the land and the animals, and it's something that I relate to very strongly.
That's actually something that we took to our wedding.
Yes, we use Native American prayers. These days, Welcome to Country is used in all sorts of settings. For example, each day when our federal parliament is sitting, they open with the clerk of the house saying the Lord's Prayer and an indigenous elder saying a Welcome to Country speech. Hope that explains why Rita's use of the phrase was so entertaining. Of course, if a non-indigenous person had said it, it would have been offensive.
So I think it's again, we talked about this before, that Leah Purcell apparently helps with the writing and inserts all, because whatever she does, she's so prolific and does so much and whatever she does, she, as she likes to say, she sprinkles her black pepper on it, and she uses every opportunity to educate people about Indigenous people's lives and histories. And I'm loving the fact that we're learning so much just from a sentence here and a sentence there.
And it's also interesting to see that it's not only in America but all over the world that political correctness is very important, especially to people who have been oppressed.
Well, I think that words are important, and respect for other cultures is important, and especially when certain things used to be used as derogatory terms and such, it's important to reappropriate.
Or were co-opted.
Right, so it's important to reappropriate them, to reclaim them, and to use them proudly. So, yeah. So now, Denise has an interesting bit of information about Rita. I don't know where you got it from, Denise. Maybe you could tell me, or if you came up with it yourself, but...
Denise says that I know there were some viewers who couldn't understand why Rita was in prison before Maori if she was the one Rita was investigating. Actually, this ran through my mind. Rita went to prison to get info from Maori's working girls originally. It seems most of them aren't happy with Maori, and apparently the police thought they would be able to get info out of them on Maori's dealings. However, it just so happens Maori beats the crap out of the doctor pretty much within days of Rita going in, and voila! Now she can try to get the info from the actual perpetrator or the horse's mouth.
Okay. Well,
I threw in the horse's mouth.
Interesting. Sounds like it could make sense. It sounds like it's something maybe that you've read somewhere, Denise. And from Rita's conversation with the detectives about Mari, we find out that they think that she's been protected. And that's the reason that she hasn't been caught up until now. They say it could go as high up as the government. So very interesting idea there.
Well, yes, we know how corrupt governments are.
And Camille says that she doesn't think we've seen the last of Channing.
I was just going to say, just think about Channing.
Right? She doesn't think we've seen the last of him. Maybe that's why we didn't get enough of a closure with him. She thinks maybe he's Danny's father.
Interesting thought.
Yeah. Now, also, by the way, I wanted to mention as an aside, when Costa arranges for the ambush on Rita, another screw is the one who guards the door. So there's another screw on the take. I don't know if that wasn't Smile.
What a surprise!
It wasn't Smile's
another crooked screw.
Well, usually they just let Smiles do all of that, so I find it interesting.
Well, she was busy covering up, taking bribes in another part of the prison that day.
There's so many
that
bribes
hour.
to collect, yes. So Rita is very cool. I loved her interaction with Kaz in the dining room, and Kaz says, come sit with us. We're more fun. And she winks at her and says, I bet you are. Oh, what's going on there? I mean, nothing is wasted. So what's going on there?
Well, she might just be keeping doors open.
Maybe. But she's also making some enemies. So hopefully Costa have learned her lesson and is going to steer clear from her from now on.
We'll see.
But Zara is quite scary.
Yeah, Zara's way scarier than Costa ever was.
Please, no. Zara is at a whole different level of scary. And Rachel says that the Zara, Rita, Mari triangle is going to end badly. She thinks one of them is going to die, and one of them will end up in prison forever.
Well, I hope it's going to be Zara. And
yeah, I don't care about Zara dying.
Yeah.
And Mari staying in prison forever. But this made me...
Oops.
This made me think about something, because Camille at first she had a theory. She gave me a theory that Boomer is going to kill Sonia, but then she saw a picture that somebody posted from the wrapping of the season 7 shooting,
the rap party,
and it had. I bet they don't throw as good a rap party as we do.
They probably drink.
So anyway, in the picture we saw Sonia, Vera, and Will. So Sonia obviously is alive for season 7, unless she came back as a ghost. So we know that Sonia, Vera, and Will are there. We assume Rita is there too, because she's been posting pictures of her, herself icing her hand. And apparently Celia Ireland let out something, let slip about Liz being in season 7. So, but you all seem very certain that in Wentworth somebody has to die. Now I don't think of if Zara dies or Spike dies. That doesn't count.
Even count.
I mean, Gilmore died. That doesn't count.
I don't even remember who Gilmore was.
The girl who looked like Liz, who
Gilmore,
28 stab wounds. So that made me think. Camille said, why don't we do a poll? Who do we think is going to die this season? So I'm going to try a new trick. Apparently YouTube allows you to do polls while you're watching our video. Can you imagine? So what we're gonna all do it right now, okay? So I'm gonna guide you through it. So right now, you should be seeing an exclamation point with a little sentence on top of your screen. And if you click that, you will immediately get the poll. They won't stop your video. It will, while we're talking, if you do it right now, you'll see the poll. And I thought, who does that leave? It leaves possibly Kaz, Juice, Jake, Ferguson if she's still alive, and Ruby. If there's anybody else that you think might die, let me know and I can run another poll next week. But go right now and click on this and vote. Now, if you're driving, why are you driving? Or if you're doing anything else that requires your hands, then this exclamation point now will be available on top of your screen for the duration of the video. So at any time, if you put your cursor on the screen, on the video itself, you will see the exclamation point. If you click on it, the poll will open. So you don't have to do it now. You can do it later on. But dude, I'm interested.
Turn off your phone this minute if you're driving.
Yeah, watch us when you're not driving. I know some people watch us when they're cooking. I don't know, the idea of holding sharp knives. To us
also.
Yeah, I know. But, you know, for the poll, you have to engage. So do it when you can and when it's safe. Okay, so let us know who you think is going to die. And this is about Rita. Now, let's talk about Sonia, even if Boomer is not going to kill her. Okay? So Sonia and Boomer, the angel of Wentworth and the intellectually disabled.
What a pair.
Oh, it's so sad. So first of all, I think that it's officially the bond is breaking, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. It hasn't been completely severed yet, but it's very, very weak and tenuous.
Yeah, and Lauren says that she was very upset because she actually thought at some point that Sonia did actually care about Boomer, but this showed that she didn't. Here's my take on this. I think Sonia is a psychopath. I think psychopaths enjoy, they can be amused by people. They enjoy playing with them. And I think with Sonia, and it goes back to what you said about her not showing any real emotion, I think the thing that Sonia gets off on is her power.
Mm-hmm.
But her power, she thinks, is benevolent. She thinks of herself as somebody who betters people and makes things more beautiful. And it goes well with her industry, which is cosmetics, as we
absolutely. And it also helps her not dwell on the horrid things she does.
Yeah, it makes her feel good about herself. And I think that it genuinely made her feel good about her. I mean, she needed Boomer as she needed an enforcer. She needed somebody who would protect her. So it made sense to take the biggest person who was also nice and make her a friend. But
yeah, I was just saying, it just reminds me, we've been watching, catching up on Elementary, and there's now a serial killer who thinks that he's helping Sherlock get better, because Sherlock has some problems, by committing these crimes and having him have this...
Providing him with a case to investigate.
Exactly.
Yeah. It is fascinating.
And he really believes it,
yeah.
that they're friends and that he's doing this for him.
Right.
He's even taking time off of killing so that Sherlock can
have time to investigate.
To get better.
And to investigate, he left him little breadcrumbs to work on.
He's not going to do anything else so that Sherlock can get well without worrying about him.
You know, a friend of mine who has several degrees in this field once told me that, because I asked her, why do psychopaths, many of the serial killers or psychopaths, why do they feel the need to kill people? And she said that because they don't have a lot of emotion, they have very little emotion, then they need really extreme experiences to get them
feel something,
to
actually feel
exactly
some kind of a genuine emotion,
or sometimes a genuine connection to another person. So I think that for Sonia, her relationship with Boomer, I wouldn't go as far as to say that she cared, but I think that she enjoyed kind of cultivating her as long as it was convenient. And now she has her focuses on something else. The workshop is back. You know, her PR blitz. She changed her plea to not guilty, and she has all this planned with Liz. So Boomer is left behind. But Boomer will not be left behind for long.
Poor intellectually challenged Boomer, who is not intellectually challenged.
I love that she said she would get the lawyers on to dealing with...
I'll get my lawyers on to this right now, right away.
I don't think Boomer will really realize that she was the one who just said it. But you know, she also dismissed her early on. They're putting...
Yes.
Yeah.
And Boomer is not as naive as she can appear to be. We know that.
Well, and now Boomer also, because of this test thing, she is not as committed to the workshop as she was before. It kind of makes her feel shitty about herself as opposed to last year when the workshop
empowered her. She was the leader, yeah.
But now she has two new allies who actually make her feel good about herself. Mari is very smart. She buys her food, which is a perfect way to get on Boomer's good side.
Sort of like me.
and Ruby, who genuinely feels sympathetic with her, and I think genuinely wants to help her. And she's also a strong person. So she has two new allies who are genuinely making her feel good about herself. And that's more powerful than what Sonia has been giving her this year. Which leaves Sonia open for threats. And that happens on the same day that Liz tells Spike who killed her girlfriend. So, Rachel has something to say here.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Hello, Rachel.
Yep.
Sonia thinks she's sitting on top of the world right now, but she's not. Liz has told Spike the truth about Sonia. We just said that. Spike will be coming for Sonia soon, but Sonia will win that battle. Well, of course she will, because Sonia, who's Spike compared to Sonia? Spike will be her next victim, but maybe this time she won't get off so easily. Lizzie has told Kaz the truth, so there may be more eyes on Sonia in the future. That is, if Kaz believes Liz. Maybe Boomer will be the one to witness Sonia take Spike out. That would be interesting.
Interesting.
Because I think Cassine is believing, especially for everybody, but especially for Boomer.
Well, especially now that she really doesn't know who to trust and what to think of anybody. But that does lead us to Liz. And
Liz.
Celia Ireland just broke my heart this episode. She's so wonderful.
She is a spectacular actress in a very low-key, gentle way. She just is magnificent.
And that scene with Kaz kissing her on the forehead, I also loved it because it made me love Kaz so much. Because
Kaz has her great moments of warmth and compassion and love. That's what makes Kaz the interesting character she is.
I think she generally is. I don't know why you hate her. I love her.
I love Kaz too.
I mean, in the beginning she was a little volatile and a little less reliable, but now she's really very maternal. And
she really cares about the women.
Yeah.
But she also cares about her power.
Yes, and she also, as you pointed out this week, she also is controlling. It's her way or the highway, oftentimes. But that scene with Liz was beautiful.
Beautiful. And Celia, oh my God.
So
now I knew from the beginning. As soon as we heard she had sort of wandered into medical. First we thought it was as a
just because of the stress.
Maybe
because she wanted to throw Sonia.
Yeah, throw Sonia. But by the time she did the next thing, I said, I smell early onset Alzheimer's.
Well, either that, Denise says maybe dementia.
Well, dementia is similar to Alzheimer's.
Yes, they do have a difference between them, but we're all wondering if this is a true organic illness or if it's stress-induced.
No, I think it's organic.
Well, and actually it could even be a combo. So I did more medical research for you.
Your favorite thing.
Stress can cause inflammation in the brain, making the brain more susceptible to health problems like dementia. Stress can also lead to depression, a known risk factor for Alzheimer's and related forms of the disease. So it could actually be, it could either be completely stress-related, it could either be completely organic, or it could be that the stress triggered something that she was already prone to, predisposed to.
If stress does this, I don't know why everybody in prison doesn't have it.
Well, Liz is currently under a lot of stress. And again, it could have triggered a condition that she was already predisposed to, and it just hastened it. Because remember, she was a long-time alcoholic. Yes.
Which also causes a great many problems mentally, physically, strokes. These are little mini strokes she's having. Her alcoholism, I'm sure, contributed greatly to whatever it is that's going on with her right now.
Well, the hairbrush in the freezer or the fridge thing, to me was like, in case you didn't know, because this is like the classic, what do? You put your keys in the freezer, or you this in the freezer. It's always, that is like the symbol of, okay, you're headed towards Alzheimer's or dementia.
That was a piece of information. I had a friend whose husband had early onset Alzheimer's at 46. And she always said, when I'd start worrying about, I forgot where I put this, she says, you don't need to worry if you don't remember where your keys are. When you need to start worrying is if you don't remember what your keys are.
Now, my question though is, if Liz is either having a psychiatric problem or a physical problem, wouldn't she have to be transferred to a medical ward or a different kind of prison ward?
One would think so, but it might take a long time for it to manifest itself.
Right. So the question is, what will Cass do with that information of the fact that something is wrong with her? What will she do with information that she just got about Sonia? That's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Liz has been going on telling everybody pretty much what's going on. But the question is now, when she is in this seemingly mentally compromised condition, will they even believe her? Because
yeah, and did anybody? I'm going to just go back to one thing. It kind of made. I wondered why Liz. I mean, even if she has a little dementia, why she was digging in at the toaster when the toast was actually sticking right out of the toaster. That kind of, I was sort of like,
to give Jake an opportunity to save somebody.
I know, but
well, maybe again, it shows about her the disorientation, about the fact that she wasn't completely
I think
present.
the toes should have been way more down.
Okay,
that's just my observation.
A note to Wentworth writers: next time you're trying to electrocute somebody, please make sure
that the toast is not easy to just pull out.
Yes. So this is Liz. A little something about Will before we end this vlog.
Poor Will.
Poor Will. Lauren says, "I'm afraid Will is heading down the drug route. He said in this episode he had taken a bunch of pills, but they weren't working. I know Robbie has been filming season 7, so I'm not going to get super scared, but I do wonder if he will attempt suicide or something with him not being able to live with what he has done.
Or he may have an overdose.
Or just get addicted to drugs."
Yes.
With this whole unraveling of Will, it also has meant that there really is no one keeping a watch out for the good of the women in the prison, since we know he's the only guard who actually cares and who's not corrupt. The other thing is an observation from D, which is very, very astute. He had a little interaction with Mary, a little sympathetic interaction with Mary. He also had a foreshadowing warning from Kaz not to believe her, that she is dangerous. D says that Mary will take advantage of his compromised state and his good heart, and I think she's right. I think
I do too. I think it makes all the sense in the world.
Yep. Now that we think about it, right? I didn't think about it until now, but it makes total sense. So this is what has been going on in Wentworth this episode.
Busy.
There were also, though, some great lines. One of my favorite was, well, that was a little frosty.
That has to be Sonia.
Some great zingers, and also Juicy Lucy in a shower cap, which was hilarious.
I don't think I ever want to see that sight again.
I thought it was hilarious. And then her coming, dressed in that very ill-fitted thing because Rita took her sweatshirt.
I might never look at a cell phone the same way again.
The preview looks very scary. Shit's gonna go down. I am truly scared of episode 6, especially since episode 6 is the middle of the season. And as we know, things are gonna heat up, especially since we've already heard that a big thing is happening in episode 7.
Oh, I haven't heard that. Where was I?
Somewhere. I did tell you, but you forgot. Something big is happening in episode 7. Some of you are guessing that this is the episode where Ferguson will reappear.
No!
Time will tell, but I tell you, before we get to episode 7, episode 6 looks really scary with Zara.
Well, first of all, let me just say that every single episode has been fantastic this season. This has been the best season for me since 1 and 2 and 3.
Since 3, yeah. Absolutely. And I'm so happy we're getting to do Talking Teal. We didn't expect to do Talking Teal. And honestly, after 4 and 5, 4 was actually still good. But after 5, we didn't even know that there would be a need for Talking Teal, because 5 was, we spent most of 5 saying, no, why did they do this? Why did they do that?
And you all didn't seem very pleased with any of it either.
Yeah. So I'm really happy we're getting to do Talking Teal for this season, because there is so much to analyze. There's so much to discuss. There's so much wafting in the air. So we need this. So thank you again for all of you for making this happen, for writing your emails. I love getting all your emails. Keep writing, ladypartsvlog@gmail.com. If you want to have your own personal perks and talk to us about any of the episodes, just have a one-on-two with us, then go right now and get your personal perk. By the way, they also make for good gifts, especially if you have a friend that you met through Wentworth. I think that's a great idea. And that's it. We'll see you next week.
Yes, we will.
And we look forward to it.
Bye.
Bye.